All right, we're here looking at this red maple planted about 3 years ago. It was planted in the typical way with a basket put in the ground and a big ring of clay, a donut put around it to hold in the water. That's a pediatric tree care technique just to make sure the tree survives its early childhood. Now, however, roots have grown up through this donut of soil and grown back toward the tree, rubbing the trunk. This can strangle it in time. So as we transfer from pediatric to geriatric tree care, our job is to shave off these roots that have grown above the flare and get that improved soil out to the edge of the natural area. That's going to expand the rooting volume and train the roots to grow away from the tree and get out and get anchored instead of growing up and strangling themselves. So this is after air spading, and now we're going to prune the roots. We have to prune the first layer of roots that are in the way, and then probably run the air spade a little bit more to expose the lower tier of roots. We don't see much flare yet, so I have a feeling there's going to be a couple layers of stem girdling roots on this one. Here's one that's actually wedged into the stem and cutting off some circulation down there. All right, we'll check later then. All right, we're finding the flare here on this maple. I ran the air spade to blow away the dirt near the tree. Masses of feeder roots growing up have been cut off and will be placed on the outside of the root ball to encourage root growth there. So now I'm probing with this minimally invasive tool to find the first order buttress roots. I think I found them right down at this depth. So now we know we can come in and chop this dirt away because we'll still be above the flare. And we're also going to be taking down this mound with a shovel. We're not worried about removing small size roots. This is October, the best time of year to do this. It'll have all winter to grow new roots before the summer drought. This is the wire basket that held the plant, so this is the original planting width, and hopefully we've had roots growing outside of here down below. But we have a few inches to go before we find the flare on this one. Calling the flare here, major roots coming off. We've cut a lot of roots on this tree and don't want to cut too many. So there's a conglomeration on this other side that mostly grows away from the stem we're leaving. But calling this the flare, what we're after is a steady decline here. So we shaved off this donut that the planters put in, and we're going to take the rest of these roots in the clay and mix them out here, and then cover the mulch back over as is taking place to my right. And we'll smooth that out, leave it level, and the tree should be good to go. This is a one-time process on most trees. This tree was so severe we almost stopped earlier and wanted to come back next year, but this is the size roots we're dealing with, very defective. Where was the wire basket? The wire basket was somewhere out here. So that's what we're calling a flare, and we're going to keep this area exposed. Okay, we've excavated another little red maple. This was the height of the mulch when we got here. We scraped the mulch away outside the circle, took our air tool and blew the soil away. Found the flare on this one pretty easy. That's where the buttress roots flare out from the trunk, forming the root system. This root is an adventitious root. It looks like came up and took a bend after it hit something hard, and then it became a stem circling root. So in time this is going to girdle the stem, and we want to remove it. So we're going to preserve the portion that's growing away from the tree. Definitely cut off this It's thick and then tapers down here. So I could make the cut out here, but why preserve that portion? I think where these wrinkles are, it's just like the collar on a branch. So where these wrinkles are, we're going to go following the tree's lead, removing that one growing back in, and we'll shorten the root first. It's tough stuff. And then make the cut where the wrinkles are. Always look for downrights. These roots will send sinkers down. Okay. We still got a little bit too much. I can go back to the next wrinkle. There. Now, to prevent it from growing back in this direction, I'm going to put the handy rock in there, fill it with some clay. Next, what we want to do is restore this outside grade to the level of the flare. This donut that the planters put on to hold in water is going to come off now. And what we're going to do is chop out this mass of feeder roots that's grown up into this donut and flop them to the exterior of the planting area. And there we're doing some aerating, trying to get the organic material back in the soil, kind of moving the tree outside to feed itself. Why don't you take that down to the final grade there? And that way the home for the tree has grown. Here's some other crossing roots. Don't stop, keep going. And this one actually came from the other side and then crossed over. And we have all the roots oriented radially. We don't have to do any more pruning. We'll fill some good soil back in and leave the grade about like this, and then start the mulch about like that, and leave a little breathing room around the collar. This flare should always be visible. We found the flare quite readily. Didn't have to go down too far. Only one stem girdling root taken off. Placing a rock to redirect the regrowth. Decent radial growth out here. Only a little mound to shave. Here's our flare, our buttress root. So that's where we stopped digging at the stem. Tried to remove as much of the mound as possible to restore exterior grade to that point. But we started running into viable roots like these. So that's where we stopped. Shaving with this tool gets the finer roots out, and then we simply pound it into the holes that we made with the aerator. And once we're down to what look like good roots, we stop, and the pine and the mulch is restored. But that's going to be a little bit above grade, but the roots can grow through. The key is to do some good aeration here and let the tree's own bioactive fertilizer encourage root growth out here on the exterior. And that's our one-time root clearing service.